Here we are, a new year, fresh start, and major goal setting mode. I always start my day with coffee, and this time of year, you can step up your game by adding a protein boost to your favorite Dutch Bros coffee drink with their new protein milk. Dutch Bros coffee also has a new salted caramel protein coffee, and you can order it as a latte or a mocha, and that's available for a limited time now through February 29th. So if you're in the phase of wanting to work out more and adding workouts to your routine and just kind of getting back on track, this might be a great fit for you. Visit DutchBrosCoffee.com for full nutrition details and follow at Dutch Bros Fresno on Instagram for all the fun.
Green light. Goodness, let's do
That's perfect. That's the perfect way to start the interview with you.
Green light, yes.
My living fast and furious friend.
That's my 3-year-old would say. Ready, set, go.
Everything is a race, right?
Everything's a race for that boy. He
MJ is doing the same.
Yeah, he's into cars and trucks.
Yes.
And it's like natural for them. It's like they're born with it. It's really sweet. Like I don't remember the girls being as into remember CJ and I love racing cars and fast cars and all that, so we live in it. We have a car dealership and everything, so it's like, but for the girls, like
I know,
it's
really
cool.
Yeah, they're
for
fine.
the boys, like oh yes, this is
I know
it.
I
this
know.
is it. And
isn't that funny?
It's in the blood. It's crazy. I love them.
I know Michael has a passion for cars as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because their dads do, and then they see that in their dads, or maybe it's just in their blood, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
But MJ is obsessed with cars.
Cars and trucks.
All the things. Yes. And everything is a race.
Yeah.
And anytime, like, it's almost a hazard sometimes, because we'll be at the park and all he wants to do is watch the cars go by.
I think out of 10 words that Max say, 9.5 is Porsches and racing, and let's get the helmet and let's go, Daddy. Let's go drive. Drive Porsche keys and like Max, what's your favorite fruit? Porsche. We all laughing because it's out of the blue and it's hilarious.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. This is, I'm not used to being the spotlight.
Well,
let's go back to that.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, so it's very exciting.
You used to be in the spotlight all the time. I can't wait to dive into your story more, right?
And
having photos in Times
shows.
Square, fashion show. Did you do runway?
I did runaway.
Okay.
I did Hermes. I did Paris, London, Italy.
Wow.
New York many times. It was wild and fun, and a dream come true. It was something
amazing.
And it was so natural for me. Like now being here today, I'm like, oh my God, the lights are so bright. Like what's happening? But it was like I lived for that.
Yeah.
When, like what, 15? I don't even know how long
I was
ago.
thinking timestamp, right? So you and CJ have been married for 10 years, and you were were you modeling after you got married?
I did.
For a little bit, right?
I traveled some.
So it's been 10 years. So it hasn't.
Yeah.
Ish, right?
It's been 10 years. Yeah. Because I think I stopped modeling when I got pregnant with V. And I was 26. I got placenta previa, and then I couldn't do a lot.
Right.
Not getting into details on that. But basically I had to be in bed rest since my 16 weeks, so that was kind of hard to travel or whatever, which I really, really wanted to do some maternity photo shoots and be like, hey, I can do it all.
Embrace the beauty of being pregnant.
But it wasn't, I couldn't, so I kind of took a pretty long break from modeling at that time, and then V turned 1 and we got pregnant with Katarina, and then modeling kind of set aside naturally, or it was just kind of how things happen in my life, because then we moved to Fresno, and that was a big change for us. CJ retiring from baseball, getting to the car business full time, me raising the girls and not knowing anyone here, so it was kind of like, well, I can really go travel and go to New York and just So I had to just focus on family, which was really wonderful. It was a new phase in my life, and I embraced it. I accepted, and it's been everything for me.
Well, and we've talked about that. It's like there's different seasons of life, and it's okay to like be content with that season. It's like, I feel like as a very motivated, hardworking woman that you are now, a mother of 4, a wife, an entrepreneur, all the things, your instinct is to do it all.
Yeah.
But we can't.
There's not enough
There's a time and place, right?
It's a time and place. And I think the moment you accept the phase that you're in your life, everything gets settled. Everything gets more peaceful. The moment you're like, I want to do it all. But I can't. But the kids and this, then you get frustrated. You get overwhelmed. Just embrace the moment, that phase. Enjoy the kids, enjoy that being home, or, do whatever you're doing at that time. And then you're like, okay, the kids are in school now, or now I can go back to my full-time work instead of have, part-time or whatever, or instead of working from home, now I can do more, or whatever it is that you have planned. But I think there's time and place for everything, like you said. And I really, truly embraced the family time, and that's where we are.
So let's rewind.
Yeah,
I want to set the stage for listeners of your background and how you came to America and all of your amazing accomplishments. I just love this story, and even when we've talked about it in the years that we've known each other, I learn something new every time. So
it's so funny, like going back in time for me, it's almost like, wow, let me open that box in my life, because it was an extraordinary phase in my life. And I think coming to New York was something incredibly unexpected. I knew since very young age that I wasn't supposed to just be where I was. I knew that was something bigger for me. I just didn't know what it was. But I trusted the universe. I trusted God that was something bigger than what I had going on at the time.
So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Senador Canedo, which is a even smaller town from Goiânia, Goiás, Brazil.
You're like, let me put this on the map for people.
Yes, exactly. So a very, very small town. And I love that. I love that it's part of my life. It's part of me. It brings me into this very humble place. And I learned how to really appreciate everything that I have, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy growing up. I was everywhere. All my aunties raised me. My grandma was just, it was something. And, but I knew that was something, like I said, it was something more for me out than just that. And so when I was about 14, 15, I did this, model, or like I think it was like a birthday book. And it came out really nice. And everybody's like, oh, maybe there's something there for her. Maybe she could try out some modeling. And so my uncle took me to this agency, and the agency was like, oh yeah, she got the height, she got the,
photogenic.
Yeah, the photogenic. She can learn how to pose and talk and, walk. And so my mom was like, okay, sure, let's do it. And I was all in. I'm like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
And so I did some, small jobs here and there, but it was nice to have, I just got paid 80 reais. I mean, for America now, it's like maybe $18 or something like that. Like,
wow.
But it was something for me. I could pay the bus to go to school. I could help out my mom with groceries or something. It was the beginning of something really big. And that's how you start. You start from, right?
It's got to start. Yeah.
For some people, at least. And so, and then I think within like a year and a half, this scouter from New York went to Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and out of nowhere, he was like, I'm going to go to a different place. And he tells me this story. He told me this story. And he just closed his eyes and pointed to a spot in the map. And it was Goiânia.
Wow. Which is where you were kind of were with like an agency at the time,
yes,
like the closest metro city to where you were.
Exactly.
Didn't you say you grew up in like kind of a farm town, like a rural, small?
Yeah. So growing up with my aunt and my grandma, it was spending a lot of time at the farm, or they had an orange farm at the time. And so, yes, I grew up with cows and horses and a ton of dogs and chickens everywhere. And I love that. I love that is part of my life. Like, I'm so grateful for those moments. And I miss that too. And so CJ and I talk about sometimes, one day
Animals.
we can have that and that space and just,
I love it.
But it's not the phase. So maybe one day. So anyways, so to get to the agency was quite a trip.
Yeah.
It was like an hour and a half bus.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot of determination. I remember one time, the agency called and said, hey, can you be here within 2 hours and a half? I'm like, shoot, I have no money.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to the bus. I cannot just,
Yeah. Pop on and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're in school, right? No?
I was in school, but it was after school. So I
Okay.
had just got home and they called. It was like a home phone, no cell phones at the time. I think my first time I had a phone, like a mobile phone, was when I moved to New York. The agency gave me like, hey, here's a phone so we can talk, because I had no phone at the time. So they call home. Hey, can you be here in 2 hours and a half? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And then I remember going to my neighbor, who was poorer than me, basically. But my parents weren't there, so I couldn't say, hey, can I have a 1 real and 50 cents at the time to get the bus to the agency to do the test, the casting. So I asked my neighbor, and I'll never forget that.
All right.
She was like, yeah. I think basically everything that she had in her wallet, she gave it to me.
Amazing.
And so I went to the casting, and so it was quite a trip to do to get to the big town. And so anyways, going back to the scouter, so he went to Goiânia and he met with 30 different models. I was one of them, and luckily I knew how to answer a few questions in English. So he oh yeah, she does speak English. This is the girl, and she, I think he was looking for something more exotic, like different than what they were used to see in the modeling industry back then. This is like, 2004, 2005. I think they were starting to look more like, oh, let's embrace the Latina look a little bit more, just change it up there. They were seeing a lot of models like Giselle Bündchen and Adriana Lima, the bright, beautiful eyes, and Russian girls, and European looks. And I think they were like, maybe we could change it up. And so I think for him was interesting that I had all the curly, wild hair, like very Brazilian. So
I love it.
And she was like, so what's your name? I'm like, my name is Lisalla. And so
you could say that.
I could say that, right? And how old are you? I am 15 years old.
Wow.
Those things that you learn at school.
Yes.
In high school.
Yes.
Because
when you learn a new language, the basics.
Yeah. Where you're from. I'm from Brazil, like super robotic, but it was all for him. It was everything.
Yeah.
And so, and that was it. So that was July.
Yeah.
And September, he was like, well, this is your visa. Are you coming? This is him in New York already, back in New York, communicating to my agency in Goiânia. And everybody's like, holy moly, you're going to America. I'm like,
wow.
I don't know.
Chills.
I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
I've never left
your town.
Not even to São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And so I remember sitting my mom down, because I think back then, we didn't have like, hey mom, this is what's going on. I had to wait for her to get home and all that. And so I remember sitting her down and be like, these are the papers and I need you to sign it.
Because at the time you were a minor. Were you 16, 17?
Yes.
Right?
16 years old.
Wow.
And so she had to sign all this like, hey, I'm letting my daughter, go out to the world. And she was okay with it, which, it cracks me up now if I think about it too hard. but yeah, I think, and I'm grateful that she did, because, you know,
Obviously.
it made everything happen for me. And, but I think it was a big decision for me to say, hey, I'm going.
You just didn't have any hesitation.
No hesitation.
I'm sure you were nervous, but like you were excited, more excited than anything.
I didn't know what was out there.
Yeah.
And that didn't scare me.
You just knew.
I just knew that I was supposed to go. This was a lifetime opportunity, and I was going to embrace it with all that I had, and I did. And was it easy? No.
Amazing.
I just...
Scary, but exciting. All the feels, right?
All the feels, but also not thinking too much at the same time, because you're so young. You're just like,
your age.
I'm just going.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting?
Just exploring.
Yeah. How you, in general, personal opinion, I think the older you get, the more fear you have, because
100%.
you know the risk, you know the
100%.
consequences, right?
Yes.
Like you see our little kids like going skiing, just bombing down the mountain, or just, you know, going for it, because
shit
they
can happen.
don't know. Yeah, they don't know.
Yes. You're like, oh, careful. And then at the same time, you're 16, you're just like, okay, I'm going to America. Like, what do you mean? You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was in the summertime. He made you the offer, and then you left a couple months later.
So I left in October 17th, 2005.
Wow. You remember the day. Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Impactful date.
Yes. I think I had one small luggage with me. I don't remember having any dollars with me, because I remember like, hey, we're going to give you, you know, something when you get here.
Yeah.
My family didn't have any money. Like, hey, it's $1,000 for you to travel to America. I know that was not an option. That was not a thing. And I think for me also, growing up where I grew up, and having this opportunity in front of me, I'm like, I'm going to give my family a better chance of life. I'm going to see my sisters going to better schools, and, you know, eventually get my parents a better house. We grew up in a, you know, basically 1-bedroom situation, a bathroom and a kitchen. So,
and you have sisters.
I do have 2 sisters, and they are amazing. We are best friends. We talk every single day. We're all mothers, so we know that things get
the reality of being a mom.
The reality of things can get very emotional, and it's a roller coaster. But we are surviving strongly, and
amazing.
You know, like I said, the way we grew up, there was no a lot of complaining. You just had to deal with it, and the way we do it is just like just open the door and just do it.
And you knew that this was an opportunity that you couldn't pass up. So
I couldn't pass up. I'm like, I don't know what is out there on the other side of the door, but I'm going to find out. And if I don't like it, I can always come back home. But if I do, and if this works out, this is it. Then I can make everything better. Because this is not it for me.
And you knew
There's
that.
something bigger out there. And so, long story short, got to America. I think, I don't remember exactly if it was the same day or the next day. I go to the agency, and everybody was like, you know, talking English. I'm like, whoa. Actually, I don't. This is overwhelming. I was like, because it's Steven. He spoke Portuguese.
Okay, so Steven was the recruiter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The booker, as we call him, right?
Booker, yeah.
So
he spoke to you in Portuguese.
In Portuguese, right? And so
that helped. So that helped. You get there, and they're asking you questions like,
how was your flight? How's your mom? How do you like New York? I'm like, what's going on here? And so Stephen was like, wait, how are we gonna do this? You don't speak English. I'm like, well, I do a little bit. Like, hi, how are you?
My name is Lisalla.
My name is Lisalla. It was like, well, that's not, you know,
that's not gonna cut it.
That's not gonna do it. And so he was pretty
think about it. Like, at the time, now we have all the apps, right? We have the phone where you can literally talk and translate.
Yeah.
I'm sure people probably use that, I imagine.
100%.
In many instances.
Think this way. Yeah. Go ahead.
At the time.
Yeah.
You said maybe at this point you haven't even had your own cell phone yet.
No.
So I don't even know if there were cell phones at that time, really, like easily accessible. And then if you're going to bookings, your job is to essentially be directed in some respects by a photographer. So like you couldn't understand what they were saying.
And that was
right?
their concern. They're like, well, they can't really give you a direction, like, of, hey, I want your hair, your hands up, or I want this. Can you spin? Can you turn? Can you look this way? I couldn't understand all of that. Right. So he was like, well, I don't know if this is gonna work out. I'm like, I don't know, I can read minds or something. Just give me this chance. Like, let me try.
You were so hungry. Yeah.
And so I went, he was like, well, I'm not sure. I need to think about it. Maybe you just go back home, learn some English, and then come back in a few months. I'm like, no, no, this is my time. I am not going back home. I'm not going back to where I was. I'm not stepping back. I'm only moving forward. And so I asked me for a second chance, basically. I need this. I need to try. Give me a chance. Let me do it. Let me show it. Let me prove it to you that I'm here to stay. And so, he's like, okay, I like that. Let's try. And so he gave me 2 months, and I got some jobs. I got my first campaign, and I'm so grateful for, was Old Navy.
Oh, I love it.
And it was shot in California. I remember traveling to California. I'm like,
oh yeah,
the first time flying ever, right? Yeah. Like from Brazil to America, and then right from New York to California. Yeah.
And so how was your first campaign, your first shoot? Was this in the 2-month window where you didn't really know English?
This was within the 2-month window. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that it was like, well, she's working. She made some money.
Bringing in money, yeah.
And that's what matters for them.
Right.
It's like,
where were you staying though? If you didn't have money, you literally had nothing. Like no money to even get you started.
No.
Do they put you up in like housing? Or?
Yes. So basically they house you. They have like a model's apartment and a ton of models there, especially during the fashion week. You're like living with, with a two bedroom place with 13, 15 models. Everybody's sleeping everywhere. It's pure chaos.
Like a dorm, but for...
It is, but it's,
models.
Super tall avatar world.
Funny.
So that was quite an experience.
So you had your housing taken care of. So that probably helped,
remember everything you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So even though I was there, like you basically every night that I slept there, they were charging me. And then whenever you get, a campaign or something, then you pay that debt.
Okay. Like
your flight, your housing. Like if they say, hey, this is your allowance.
Yeah.
This is your allowance for the week, which I had $100 a week for some time.
Food. I mean,
so yes.
I mean, obviously cost of living and things were less at the time.
It was less at the time, but it was still pretty.
That's less than $20 a day. If you think
so
about it.
the metro at the time was $25 for 7 days.
Wow.
And then I had to eat and do some laundry, obviously, because you don't have go through all the clothes, and then I had to pay for the card on the cell phone callers,
Oh yeah,
because I didn't have a line then.
Yeah.
I had to scrape it. Remember at that time? I don't know if you guys went through that. You have to okay, let me dial this number. Oh, I have 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was my time.
Wow, amazing.
So I learned a lot. I learned how to, take the metro on my own.
How did you? Read the signs. So how did you? Obviously, you made it, right? You didn't have to go back, right?
No. So I didn't go back. So I went back for Christmas.
Okay. Just by choice.
Just So it was like, okay, you have 2 months, and then if you, get through these 2 months and you get money. You make money, then you can come back. If you don't make money,
you gotta
this
stay.
is your one pass, basically, right?
So how did you learn English?
So I would wake up at 5 a.m. And watch hip hop videos with the subtitles. And just
amazing.
That was the beginning.
Amazing.
So music's very therapeutic for me. So that was a thing. And then obviously Friends.
Yeah.
I love a comedy. The show Friends was my life back then.
I love it. True American comedy, right?
Yes.
And gives you That's really makes sense because it has you learn more conversational.
Conversational.
It's not like what you would study in a class or something.
Yeah. And I think, English, when you learn a new language, it's an all-day practice. You have to practice your listening to be able to speak well. You have to practice this, how people speak, not just like if you just go to school and you just write things down. It's not the same as when you're listening to a conversation. You need to get the vibe. You need to get the, it's not just watching something. It's like practicing like
anything, learning a new skill in general, right? You don't really know how to do it.
Too. It's not overnight. It doesn't take 2 months. It takes years.
You're watching MTV, you're watching Friends, you're
not understanding anything, but I was like, okay, today I got moving the hip. Okay, I got that today. I get it,
That makes sense for directional, like how to move your body, right?
Yeah.
So, and then taking the metro, I mean, there's signs, there's like, you can easily
so
screw
many
that up.
times when I was, supposed to go up, down, and I went downtown and so many times like, shoot, okay, get out, go outside, go down these stairs. Let's try again. Okay. Now, it was quite something. And,
amazing.
And sometimes, especially during Fashion Week, you have 11 castings a day.
11 castings a day.
That was like the good
So
day.
what is a casting? Like is it like what you see in the movies where you walk in and there's like, you take photos and what do you do?
Kind of, but not as easy as it looks in the movies, right? It's just a little bit more, a lot of models. Sometimes it's more selective, they kind of do like a casting. So that the managers send the books like, okay, we have 50 models. Okay, can I see 20 of them? And then you go in. Sometimes, like if you go see Vogue, they're not going to have a room full of models because they don't have time for that, right? They're just like, no, I'm just going to see
or they have a very specific look that they're going for, right?
Exactly.
And to your point, you were kind of on the brink of the more kind of diverse, exotic look.
Yeah. So
for bigger brands, because they were probably used to like very American looking women, I imagine.
European. Yes. Yes, that's what. Yeah. And so I think my look, the Latina look that came in within the past 15 years, if I can say that, which you see a lot. And it makes me so happy. Yeah. It's like, yes, we made it. Yeah. Right? We're here. And I love that. I love to see this beauty a little bit more than used. Because I remember like, well, I'm not as pretty as these blonde, blue-eyed girls, but I'm like, you feel less. Yeah. We don't have, because that's all you see, right? Exactly. That's all you see everywhere. And then you're there, like you're the only one Latina one. I'm like, well, I'm going to get this job. Guess what? Sometimes you're looking for personality. Sometimes you're looking for, a vibe that you have. And I think that's what cultivate a lot of the clients that I had. Oh my God.
I know.
The energy, when you bring the energy that I think they want it.
So when you go into a casting, like you said, Fashion Week, what's like, are they directing you to pose?
They are. So they're like, hey, nice to meet you. Let me see your book. And as you watch,
they have a book.
Book, yeah. And then, and the reason
still have
why,
your book?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh my God.
I was showing to my daughters the other day.
Oh my God. Cute.
And they're like, because, I used to do a lot of, beauty hair campaigns, beauty makeup campaigns, right? But I also did a lot of lingerie and bikinis. I'm like, Mom, what do you mean you were like all naked out there? I'm like, I wasn't naked. It was just a little bikini. They're like, did Sad Daddy see this? Like totally shocked.
Isn't that funny when your kids realize you're actually humans? Like you're not just mom.
Because I think they see some of my jobs in my office at home. Like, wow, Mom. Yeah. Like it's like a different person, right? Because every day I'm like my pajamas and the hair, it's a disaster. No makeup. Yes. Yeah. And so they're like, wow, Mom. People transform sometimes. So that's what makeup does.
That's sweet.
And so it's fun. It's fun to share that with them now that they understand a little bit more. And they're all about fashion.
Yeah, and especially Kay, I feel.
Especially
Kay.
Little
fashionista.
And she's such a every day, and they pick their own outfits in the morning, and they're like, "Mom, is this good?" I'm like, "Yes, look really good." And, well, maybe change the shoes. You know, I kind of get into that a little bit, and they like to learn. They embrace it. It's really sweet.
So sweet.
And I still, you know, even though I'm not in the industry anymore, I think fashion, you're either a fashion or not. You're either into fashion or you're not. And I think that will always be with me. I love wearing beautiful shoes, a nice cut up shirt. So I think it's something that the girls and probably the boys will, you know, be aware of, you know, like, okay, we need to present ourselves nicely. We need to take care of, you know, not just like presentation, 100%. This is something that, you know, CJ and I talk about it all the time too. Like, I'm not going to go to a dealership and buy a car from someone who's wearing jeans.
Yeah.
I don't trust this guy right now. Like, you know, it's silly to say that, but it's nice when someone's wearing something presentable, right? You're like,
I've heard too that research shows that, like, if you are dressed to the occasion, right? Even potentially overdressed, like dressed up, get ready for the day, feel good about yourself, you're more productive. Yeah. You're more successful. You're more confident.
You're confident.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's a thing.
Which I think when you start your day, right, preparing yourself to take on that day, it's a big thing. It's a big deal. You're like, I'm ready. I'm ready for anything.
Right.
Instead of just like,
right. Well, think about it. I mean, I think about the days when I may be working from home and I'm in my sweats. I'm still productive. It's just different. It's
just different energy.
My thing is, at least just personally, it's like you should be able to run into somebody and feel fine. 100%. If you're going somewhere and you don't want to be seen, then you're probably not dressed for the day appropriately. You know what I mean?
And many times when I don't know, maybe it's silly kind of to say that out loud, but if I'm not dressed, not like full on dress, but if I'm not wearing something appropriate, then I wouldn't go to the dealership and like, hey, you know, I want to be like presentable. Like, hey,
absolutely.
This is, you know, our business. Like, I appreciate this. You know,
it's your reputation.
It's important for me to, if there's a client there, I want to be like, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Lisalla, you know, instead of like, oh, nice to meet you. I don't want to see me right now. I'm just going to, you know. I don't know. It's a different energy that you pass it on when you meet someone and you're feeling good about yourself. I think that's really important when you're like, I feel good.
Confidence.
I can talk with anyone. I can go anywhere. I'm ready for anything. When you just, you know, kind of halfway, then.
So let's talk about like some impactful kind of campaigns or brands that you've worked with. From what you've shared with me, Old Navy obviously was the first booking, right? Which is so cute, fun. Yes. What a great brand.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Target in the past.
Oh my gosh. Right? Target. I worked for Target for about 8 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. No contract, but I was working with them for at least 3 times a month.
Wow.
And that was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get the money.
The recurring
clients. Macy's was really big. Nordstrom's, Neiman Marcus, Target, Bloomingdale's. Those are the
department store like kind of. Yeah. Yes. Wow.
So I used to work pretty much 5 to 6 times a week.
Wow.
And that was
all in
really
New York,
awesome.
or did you get to travel
everywhere.
All over? Cool. Fun.
Everywhere. So I was traveling. When I met CJ, I was traveling pretty much 2-3 times a week.
Wow.
Dallas, California, Miami, just everywhere.
Fun.
Yeah.
Aerie, Victoria's Secret, right?
Victoria's Secret, L'Oreal, Maybelline, Tresemme.
Amazing.
Hermes fashion show. I did some few cool stuff.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. It was fun. It was really.
Was there any like brand or campaign that stuck out to you that it was like either really great to work with or, I mean, I've seen some of your photos. You've had a photo in Times Square. Like that is huge. Is that when you were like, okay, I think I made it. Come on, right?
It was. I'll never forget walking
huge.
to. I actually did a few times actually when I was up there.
Amazing.
I was like, hey, it's me. And people would be like, oh, that's you.
That's so cool.
Definitely, I felt like I made it moment, you know, hey mom, I made it. It was wonderful. And I was working for a little while, you know, when I got that campaign. We shot uptown in like a outdoorsy house, really beautiful. I worked with Nina Agdale at the time. She was really fun. And I think for me, L'Oreal was the most big one in my career, just because that was what gave me the name. Lisalla did L'Oreal hair commercial.
Oh, that was a commercial?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
Wow. I need to
like
see
because
this.
I'm worth
it. I mean,
kind of thing.
Right? That's amazing.
And yeah, I think Beyonce was in the campaign. It was me, Beyonce, and Cynthia Dicker. I did not meet Beyonce.
I was going to say, were you there at the same day?
No, we shot at different days and then they just put us together. I'm like, I'm next to her. But yes, no, I did not meet with her.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think it was the one that most marked my career, because that's what really opened the doors to everyone else. Like, oh, this is Lisalla. Yeah, she just did L'Oreal. Let's book her. Let's see what she's about. Let's see how interesting and fun, and you know. And so so that was 2006, and then from that on I kind of took off.
So how many years into your career did that happen? I'm trying to you
said within a few months.
Wow.
It was like,
that's amazing.
Yes. And I was,
that's amazing.
So I remember when Steven, my manager at the time, he was like, well, you were an option for this huge campaign. And it was awesome because also I could pay all my debts with the agency and actually like save some money and, you know, maybe move out of the model's apartment, which is, it's kind of stressful when you know, living with a lot of people that is not your place.
Did you share a room?
We share a room, yeah. I think I had 5 girls in one. You know, it's like a bunk beds.
So it's like a true like camping dorm type of situation. Interesting,
girl. Let me tell you.
Oh, I can't even imagine the dynamics of that many women together.
You know what is funny? It's not only American girls and Brazilian girls or American, and it was from all over the world.
So were there must be language barriers, right? Like
100%.
You couldn't even talk
One
to
time
the person.
I had this argument with these Russian girls. We did not understand the thing we were saying, but we were arguing.
You're like, I felt like she had a bad vibe.
Not in English. The only thing I could say was,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh,
you know,
funny.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And then, so that was stressful. You know, I was like, well,
rightfully
if I got this campaign, besides being the most important thing in my life right now, is that I can get out of this place, you know, and find my own place, help my family, pay all my debts.
Amazing.
And then move on. And that's what happened.
Amazing.
And I was so grateful for that. And I remember like praying, like, you know, I just need this one.
Yes.
And then because then I started, you know, booking the portfolio magazines and Elle and Cosmopolitan and all those things. So
amazing.
And you kind of take off, and then all the clients want to see you. Like, oh, who's this girl Lisalla who did L'Oreal? Like, I'm right here. Can you want to book me? I work, you know, 12 hours a day. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
And it's so funny because when you're that young, you have so much energy. And I loved what I was doing.
I'm sure.
I loved it. Was everything for me. And I think that was the difference between me and a lot of girls, was that I was really, really happy to be there. I was not lazy. I never counted like, oh my gosh, I have 2 more to do. It was like 35 outfits to shoot that day. Wow. I was so happy to change into all of them and get it done and get beautiful photos. And
amazing.
So, it was really
just grateful and hardworking.
Hardworking. I traveled a lot. I went to Argentina, India, obviously all over the US, all over Europe, Germany, Spain, everywhere.
So what was that lifestyle like? You were clearly young. So to your point, you had the energy, you were eager, all the things. But like, how do you maintain relationships with people because you're always on the go, right? Like, did you meet friends when you moved to New York, or were you just mainly like head down, I'm grinding? You know what I mean?
That's a really good question, actually. I think the difference between me and a lot of people in the industry back then was that I was really focused on working and because this is kind of a sensitive topic because you can get really deep in that. But resuming, I was into the party life. Yeah. I was never into the party life. And so I think that kind of separated me from the other models. I was just like, hey, my face cannot be puffy the next day. I cannot be hungover. I have to be
on a game,
flawless, that you know what I mean. So, and that was my thing. I would go to bed early. I mean, early. I would go to bed early and eat the good things. And obviously, when I got to New York, my manager was like, "Well, you gotta cut down some."
Gotta maintain,
cut down some weight. And so I had to work on that. Working out was a big part of my life back then. I was to work out 4 hours a day. It was
4 hours a day.
Yes.
That is dedication.
Yes.
Wow.
And diet, you know, just focus on eating the right foods. And
amazing.
So you know, for me, it was like, how can I work out all these hours and then go party?
Yeah. Throw it all away.
Wake up feeling like
crap.
Yeah. Then go to work? No way. Yeah. I'm going to do this right.
Well, and to your point.
But it's hard when you're in the industry because some people want to hang out with the models and they want to see or like, meet you a little bit more outside of the like that studio life. But that wasn't me.
Wasn't you.
I was very like, no, we're professional. We're not getting closer than this. And so I really think that because of that, I didn't go as further as I wanted to because it is a small what is the right word?
Well, it's like a network. It's like a small network. Like within the industry, everybody kind of knows each other, right?
Yes, and so the lifestyle that they liked and they were used to was not for me, and so therefore that kind of like, well, she's not sociable or whatever. It's interesting though, because I would think now, and I'm sure maybe things have changed, I don't know, but from a brand's perspective, like L'Oreal's perspective, I would love to work with you because you're not a liability. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're responsible, you're hardworking, you do the right thing. You're not out partying or getting photographed with some celebrity doing something you shouldn't be. Because ultimately you're the representation of the brand too. That was huge
so that's interesting that you think it kind of hurt you a little bit. Because I would think the opposite, but that's interesting, right?
It really did. I don't think it would be right for me to say names of brands.
Right.
But it really did. It didn't allow me to take the extra step where all it's happening, you know? So I went as further as I could with my beliefs.
Good for you for sticking to your beliefs because that's hard sometimes,
it's
right?
Really hard.
Peer pressure is a real thing, 100%.
Everything's free for the avatar world. You know, the new beautiful girls. Yeah. You get everything free.
Yeah.
You can get into any club you want. You have everything.
Access to all the things.
Access to all things.
Yeah, wow.
You can private jets. You want to go to Spain with me? Let's do it. I'm like, nah. I'm going to go to bed, you know? So, and I think that, you know, keeping my ground got me to meet my wonderful husband.
Exactly.
And have the family I always dreamed of. So like, I always wanted to have what I have today. Right. And so for me, focusing on that was everything.
Right.
If I knew that if I lost sight, my path, you'd be something, maybe I would be in totally different.
I know. I think about that all the time, you know? Right? Like God has a way of steering you down certain paths and decisions that you make along the way, right?
100%.
Lead you to where
you are. So many testings. Hey, this is for you. Do you want it? No. Do you want this one? Yes.
Yeah.
It's harder to get there. it's more working. It's gonna take longer time, but this is what I want. Not this. It's too easy, and it doesn't last forever.
Right.
So I focused on that, and it was hard because I had no family around. It was just a few friends, but I think I always have had a very big faith in something bigger than all of us. So I think that kept me grounded and focused. And so, yeah.
So fast forward to you're living in New York, and set the stage for how you and CJ met. Like you met through a mutual friend, right? Because you weren't both on the same coast.
No, right? Oh my gosh, yes.
He was on the West Coast, you were on the East Coast, right?
Yes. Okay. So he was on the West, I was on the East, and when something's supposed to happen, it just happens, right? It doesn't matter where you are. It's kind of a funny story. Long story short, okay, because I can get into details, but I'm not going to. So someone from Sports Illustrated interviewed CJ, and they kind of became good friends. Cool. And then he interviewed me. His name is Jimmy.
And CJ, for those who don't know, was a former professional baseball
player.
Okay.
And he did some racing on the side and many more things.
All the things. He's a man of many talents. Yes.
Exactly. So, Jimmy interviewed me, and he was like, hey, this is like... He told CJ, this girl, like she's interesting. She's single. She seems like,
good for him for looking out for both of you.
I know.
CJ and you, like matchmaker.
Mostly CJ.
Did this guy go to your wedding? He should have.
He couldn't. He did not go to our wedding.
Man.
He was on the East Coast, I think, and so yeah, he didn't make it to the wedding.
I love a good matchmaking.
We are still friends with him.
Good.
Obviously,
Sweet.
we talk.
Okay.
And so I think for him, it's like, holy moly, I put this two together. It's so awesome.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he was like, hey, CJ, this is Lisalla, blah, blah. And then CJ started following me on Twitter and hey, what's up? I see you like Ayrton Senna. I'm like, yeah, of course, he's Brazilian. He's an idol of mine. And I went to get a race car license one day.
You did.
And a motorcycle license. I always wanted. It was always on my what's it called?
Bucket list.
On my bucket list.
So you've had that in you too. Well, you both have that in you. Like kind of like,
I think that's what brought us together.
As it sounds like a need for speed kind of, right?
I think it's something that put us together even nowadays. Is something that we are like, let's go. Ready, set, go. Like he, today even he called me, hey, there's a Ferrari something this weekend. Let's do it. Like, let's go. Let's go.
My gosh, how fun.
So it's something that we really bond over. And so
so you were going to get your race car license. I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, I think I mentioned on the interview.
Oh, and I wanted to get they made the connection. Maybe.
Yes, that's why Jim was
Smart.
Like, well, CJ's into racing. You both like Ayrton Senna, which she seems really cool. You're really great. Like, why not?
I love this.
And so he started following me. I started following him back
on Twitter.
And he would say, hey, like talk to me in Spanish. I'm like, dude,
you're like, I don't
okay.
I speak Portuguese, but okay.
We can do that. But we did. We talked Spanish, Portuguese, English all mixed. Because when I met CJ, my English wasn't as good as it is today.
Yeah, yours is
so
great.
It was kind of
that's funny.
It was another thing. Like it was a lot of like learning still. Yeah. So we dated long distance for 9 months. And then after the season...
You dated before you met, or did you meet in person?
Oh, no. We met...
Okay. I'm like, was this all on the phone? Because this was like before FaceTime and Zoom and all the things, right?
Yeah, so we talked on Twitter for a few months.
Okay.
And then I went to Hollywood to shoot Maybelline, commercial for Maybelline. And he was like, hey, I see that you're in town. Let's meet up. I'm like, what?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this is where I am.
And come.
I don't know. This is where I am. This is my location.
Good for
so,
you. That's funny.
He went all the way up in the hill. on the hill.
Oh, was it like a house
with his
or something?
motorcycle? Yes, all like, decked full on suit. And so I came out and I was like, hey, do we hug? Do we shake hands? It's all this like, it was cute though. We always talk about that. And then, then he asked me for a date. We went out the next day or something like that. He sent flowers to my hotel, which I thought was very gentleman.
Cute. Yes.
And then we talked, and then obviously I went back to New York, and then we talked on the phone for another month or so. Mm-hmm. And then he invited me over to spring training.
Okay.
And
is that in Arizona, right?
That's in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I went there, and then we had another date, and we're like, okay, cute. This is cool. This is interesting. Yeah. And you both enjoyed each other. Yes.
And then you did long distance for 9 months.
For 9 months.
Wow, that's a long time.
Something like that, yeah.
Especially in a new relationship, right?
I should just travel to see him like twice a month.
Okay.
But everything's so fun.
It's like honeymoon phase.
Phase. Every time you see each other, like, hey, miss you. Yay, let's hang out and let's see a movie. And then, some time went by and I was like, well, what are we doing? Are we going to date for another like year? Like this? And he's like, no, obviously not.
I love that you had to
come to Cali, girl. And I was like, what? Okay. Okay. And it's a big deal to move your life for love.
Absolutely.
But I'm not embarrassed to say that I did.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I did. It was a risk. Obviously. Because you're like, well, we dated long distance. Everything's beautiful. Now I'm going to move.
Even though you had work in the area and you still worked in the area,
it's not the same.
It's not like you're moving to a town nearby. Yeah.
It's not the same. It's like, all of your clients are in New York, right? Your base foundation, it's there.
Your life.
Right? Your friends, your restaurants. Yes. It's so easy to just take the metro everywhere, right? LA was different.
Very different.
I did have a driver's license, but I never used a car.
You had a driver's license. We didn't even talk about that.
Yes, in New York, right? Okay. But I never used it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't drive anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
I just had it like, hey, I have a driver's license. I'm cool.
I have an ID. I have a driver's license.
Right. Yes. You don't have one. I have one.
Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
That was, and then moving to LA, I was like, shoot, what
Everyone
am I
drives.
do? Everyone drives. I cannot go to just a restaurant down the street. I have to actually drive there.
I'm curious. I lived in LA, obviously, for years. Where did you live in LA?
We live in Los Feliz.
Okay.
Los Feliz.
Los Feliz. Yes.
Yes.
That's appropriate. So, did you live together?
We did.
Wow.
So I moved in like all luggages in his house. It was wild.
I bet.
His brother lived with us for a little while.
Okay.
Too, and some of his friends. It was quite interesting. It was a massive house.
Yeah.
So we could we have our own space.
Own area. Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Yeah.
It was just, he had a chef, so we get up and have food there. And his friends just hanging out. And he had a lot of friends who worked for him, actually, like a personal assistant, and someone did this and that. So it's a totally different world.
I bet.
You know, I was like, whoa, this is something.
So you didn't have to drive to see each other, obviously. That's nice, right?
That was nice.
The LA traffic is a real thing.
No, yeah. And I think, we really wanted to try to see how we would work together, like being that close.
Right, fair.
Before
that's extreme though, right? If you think about it, it's like you go from long distance to your point to like work together every day, all day.
Do with it.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think for me and CJ, we kind of have the same personality. It's like we were doing this all the way. There was challenges,
I'm sure,
and there was a lot of learning, communication, and we did that really good. I think that's one of the positive sides of CJ is that he's a great communicator. I'm sure you know that because he loves to.
Yeah, that's a great quality.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
He's a really good listener. And I think in a marriage, it's very important. And so
communication is everything.
Especially, Ray, when you were from different worlds.
I was going to say.
Different culture.
He probably helped you learn English, right? 100%. Like taught you so much.
He talks
because he's you guys are both very smart, but he is very smart too. And so I'm sure that was like a teaching moment for him.
Yeah.
100%. For both of you,
100%.
That's sweet. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so moving to LA, getting a car and all that. And then he was gone a lot. He would because from LA, he would have to drive to Orange County. So that was like 45 to an hour,
depending on
drive.
Traffic. Yeah.
So he would leave sometimes, 10:30, 11:30, sometimes a little bit later, like noon, to the stadium.
Yeah,
and so I had all
and he was playing for the Angels at the time.
He was playing for the Angels at the time, and it was so fun to watch the games.
I bet. How fun. And
yeah.
did you become friends with like other teammates, wives or girlfriends or whatever? How fun.
That was really, I miss, that's something that I really miss
Do
also,
yeah.
is going to the games and watch him. I wish the kids had a little bit of that, because now even though when we try to tell them, they're like, they don't really get it, right?
Yeah.
But
that's sweet.
Yeah. Good times.
So,
good times. Good
right?
times.
Does it feel like forever ago?
No.
Doesn't?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It feels like he was playing last year.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how intense it was, because it's still fresh. Maybe for him, I don't know. But for me, it's like it was just, it just like happened.
In some respects, yeah. But then you think about your life now, and it's like, wow, so much has happened. Right?
Because we had Valentina in 2016.
So you got married how long after?
We got married 13. So we got pregnant at 15. And then,
Great. So you were married for a couple of years before you had your first child. That's great. You kind of had time to like get settled into marriage and traveling. And you were still modeling at the time.
I was still modeling at the time, still going to New York. And remember, the East Coast modeling business is not the same as the West.
I bet. I could totally see that. Yeah.
In so many levels. The models are different, like different
brands,
looks, brands. The pay rate is different, so that was really hard to adjust, going from something so like
just different,
just
I
very
could totally
different. I was
see
like,
that. Yeah,
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really I was like, well, I can't go from it was quite adjusting.
I bet.
So I had to travel to New York to keep some clients, and which sometimes you're like, hey, I don't want to pay for your ticket.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to book models. They're already here.
Oh, yeah.
So that was another thing.
Yeah.
You
Didn't
know what
even
I mean?
think about that.
Like, shoot.
But you stayed with the same agency?
I did stay with the same agency.
Oh, great.
Because it was one of the best agencies in New York.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's very important to keep that relationship with your manager. But when you start getting older too, it's something that in the industry, it doesn't last forever unless you age out,
right? I mean,
you do.
Right?
We do.
Especially when you started at such a young age.
And I mean, honestly, the industry has changed so much.
I believe it. Yeah.
It's like, everything's around social media. The models nowadays, they get paid through, hey, I'll give you, I'll send you 10 or whatever it is. I don't know, different outfits or, shoes and bags or whatever. It's not like he used to. I
think that just the industry as a whole has changed too when it comes to like what they're looking for and body positivity and diversity and all the things,
But also they want to, they check your Instagram besides your book.
Right.
Which we didn't
world. You didn't have
they don't
at that
meet
time.
With them anymore. It's more like, hey, I'll send you my product. You talk about it, and maybe I'll send you a few $1,000 or not, or just send you the product or whatever. You keep that, that relationship. So it's a totally different world.
Yeah.
And it's something that for whatever reason I haven't jumped onto that. I don't know, maybe because I'm not used to it. When I left the industry, that's when things were happening. Everything was about followers.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
so Instagram was a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a thing when I was
right,
modeling. Or not as big as it is today.
Right. That's hard too, because, now that you have kids, I know we've just talked about this as friends and moms, is just like the balance of how much is too much to share on social and 100%. Protecting our children.
And it's something
but
I have
also
a hard time with
same.
too.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, some days I'm like, yeah, it'll be so fun. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
And you know that in your heart.
And I could.
Yeah.
But I'm not there. I was never that kind of person that needed the attention.
Yeah.
But some people are not looking for that attention. They just, you know,
it's like a creative outlet.
For some people, it's a survival. It's a great way to make money, and they do make a lot of money. Some people, they want to share, and they get, you know, the attention that they're looking for. Fortunately, I don't know. I have a hard time with that.
Same.
And I do have my private little thing where it's just closest friends and family, and I love posting that because then, you know, my family in Brazil can see a little bit more of what's going on in my world. But yeah, like I used to in the modeling when I was, you know, working, I just
post all the things,
you know, but it even wasn't that big then.
No,
maybe it was, you know,
it wasn't.
It wasn't. So I don't know, it's something that for me, I haven't embraced that all the way yet, and I don't know if I will. Maybe not. Right. I don't know. Right now, not.
I think that's so relatable, though. You know.
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean, you got 4 littles looking up to you as a mama.
It's almost like I don't
and the
have
other
time.
thing, just in general, aside from posting to social media, is just I grew up in a family where my parents were really good about filming like home videos.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old school video camera on the shoulder type of stuff.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome.
And we have so many home videos. And I'm so grateful that they did that.
Yes.
Because those are my memories, like of my childhood. Like I can't remember if I actually remembered that or if I saw a home video type of thing.
It's a little bit of a peek of like what it was back then for you guys growing up.
For sure. And so, and the homes we lived in, and just the dogs that we had, and just the friends and the people that were in our lives, our relatives that have since passed, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think about what home videos my kids will have. And I'm trying to be more intentional about just taking videos because it's a sweet moment.
It is, yes.
And not having to share it on social media.
That's what I'm saying.
But just to have it for me, to have it for Michael, for them.
For them. That's what I think about it too. I'm like, this is all for them. And you know, I take so many same videos and photos of CJ playing with the kids. That's and sometimes I know the kids will not remember these moments, but when they see it, they're like, oh wow, my daddy was so present. Even though right now they think that daddy works so much, they will see this and be like, he was so present. He was playing with us in the backyard every Sunday, every possible time. And you know, it's the same thing. I always, because you know, I'm the one taking care of the kids, so I'm like taking steps like, hey, I was here too.
I know, right? I was gonna say,
I'm here too.
Have you seen those funny memes that it's like, mom taking a picture of dad with the kids, and he looks all
so
cute. They're perfectly
cute.
smiling.
Oh my gosh. And then
like,
mom's
dad taking a picture of mom with the kids, and she looks like disheveled with a banana or something. It's like, what?
The raw angle.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So
oh my God. Funny.
I want them to see that.
So now you're in a new season of life, right? It's like you've experienced so many things, overcome so many challenges,
since the
took big risks for love, for your career, for all the things, and just kind of setting the stage of you're married, you're pregnant with V, you have to be on bed rest, which I've been there. It's not fun. Very
it was very hard,
frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember my sister was on bed rest before me. She had twins. And I remember thinking, this is before I had any kids. I thought, lucky.
Yeah.
I thought you get to just chill on the couch and hang out and do all the things. Like this is pre-kids.
Right.
I think I was even single at the time, pre-Michael.
Like, good for you. Watch
literally,
all the movies
like,
you
get to read, you get to
Yes.
watch Netflix, all the things. I don't even think Netflix was a thing, actually. But anyway. And she's like, no, Ray, this is so frustrating. Like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so defeated. I just want to be able to get up and like shower and like for a longer time.
Go grocery shopping, get out, go meet a friend.
House,
exactly. Yeah.
See us, because they weren't living in Fresno at the time. And I get it now. I mean, after being on it bed rest twice now myself, I'm like, oh wow, this is frustrating. It's just, I remember being so frustrated that you couldn't do anything. You know,
it was very hard emotionally too, because it's almost like, what is wrong with my body? Why cannot this the right way? But it's not that. Sometimes, Things happen for a reason. Sometimes we don't know the reason, but you just need to take care of that. Maybe it's a lesson, right? Hey, I need to slow down and embrace this moment and take care of this baby that it's growing. And I went through that with Valentina from 16 weeks until
that's pretty early on,
basically 33 weeks. That was so hard.
That is a long time. Yeah, I bet.
Because
you're like nourishing the baby and hanging out and snacking and
that was really hard. And then it was very risky pregnancy for a little while until the placenta moved up. And then thankfully everything worked out, and we have the most beautiful girl.
You have the most beautiful children.
Girl. She's incredible.
She's
so smart.
So sweet.
And then with Katarina, by the end of the pregnancy, I had to be put in pelvic rest, as they call it. So no stairs, no picking up V.
How old was V at the time when you were pregnant?
V was 17 months.
Yeah.
So I couldn't pick her up. I couldn't, do any like physical. With the boys. I don't know, totally fine.
Oh, good. Well,
Max,
that worked out.
I was so active with Maximus. I was working out the entire time, moving, taking care of the girls, up and down the stairs, just doing it all, going for walks. It was such a fun pregnancy, even though he was kind of a surprise for us. The best surprise.
Yeah. Well, and you had two young kids.
Yeah.
And pregnant with the third.
And no problems.
Thank God, right? Because that would have been hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because CJ, he's traveling, business, working.
Yeah.
So, and then with Dominic, our fourth baby, I kind of had to be in pelvic rest bed rest actually. What was it, 27 weeks until delivery. And my doctor was like, this is your last baby. Yeah. You cannot do this again.
Because here's the thing. I mean, I'm one of 4, but my mom had 2 pregnancies. I'm a triplet with a younger sister, right? And so when people have multiple children, a lot of times it's multiples somewhere in the mix. You had 4 pregnancies.
4 pregnancies.
Which is amazing.
It was, yes, it is a blessing. It's
such a blessing. You're such an amazing
mom. All of them was planned. I say that Max was a surprise because we talked about going for a third. Yeah. But then when we were like, maybe not. Yeah. You're already pregnant with him. So it wasn't, you know what I mean? We're like, oh my God, it's happening. Yeah.
So sweet. So 2 girls, COVID, 2 boys.
2 girls and 2 boys. So blessed. So grateful.
So grateful. They're so great. You're doing an amazing
job.
And
they're all oh my God, they're so different from each other.
Okay, so let's talk about parenting a little bit because I feel like you're such a great mom. Subject. I know. You're such a present mom. Your children are so kind and just so well adjusted. I feel like, how do you, I'm finding as they're getting older, right? Yours are just a little bit older than mine. That, but also like just seeing their different personalities come through. Isn't it it's fascinating to me how people can be born by the same parents, live in the same house, eat the same food, be exposed to the same things and be so different. Right?
I tell me and my sisters are real like.
Yeah. What's that like?
It's almost like from different planets. That's
really?
How different we are. And
I've met one of your sisters. So
she's in Australia right now. I think that's the one. Yeah, that's the one you met.
Yeah. Different.
We butt heads a lot because we were like, dude, this is not how you should do. This is not, I mean, not judging each other, but just like, holy, how can we think so different? Wild? And I think for our kids, it's going to be the same way. Like my girls are best friends. But holy man, they are like
same, very different,
so different. And I can tell the boys too. And CJ and I talk about that sometimes too. The way they move their bodies, the way they walk early, walk later, talk first. It's their own thing. Even though same parents, same DNA in a way, right? Same.
Well, yeah, same, all the same. So what advice would you give to so far? I know we're still new in the parenting game, but so far from the lessons that you've learned, what advice would you give parents that you're finding like your kids are different? How do you parent them differently? How do you approach that, you know?
It's, I find that with some of them, each one of them actually, it's a different talk. I cannot talk this way that I talk to Valentina. I can talk this way to Kay. It doesn't work sometimes. Discipline needs to be sometimes different ways, and I'm discovering that with Max, because he's the as they call it, the three-nager years. Holy moly.
I know.
We went through that with Katarina a little bit, and now again with Max, but remember, he's a boy.
I know.
So it's not different. The same. So sometimes with Kay, I would say one thing like a few times, and boys, I feel like they're more strong-minded in a way, like more what is the right word? Just like, I'm just not going to listen right now, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm just going to walk away and just go and go. And you just, I think there are times where you just have to let go, just because is it worth it to fight?
I guess pick your battles, right? Like when it comes to a safety issue, obviously you're not going to compromise. But if it's like, I don't want you to wear those pants today, that's really not a battle you need to fight right now. At least that's where I'm, right?
That's where I am too.
Same.
And like with the girls, I remember being like, hey, no.
Yeah.
We're not doing that today, right? Yeah. And or whatever it is. Like I could be a little bit more firm and they'll listen. With Max, I cannot do that. If I say, hey, come back here. If he's going walk on the street by himself or something, like, hey, come back here. If I raise my voice, like,
well, I'm glad he listens.
Freezes.
Yeah, MJ does not.
I have to be like, we do not walk on this street because there's cars and it's very dangerous. And he's like, okay, mommy.
Okay.
So sweet. It's just finding the right connection, the right words with each one of them. Max never likes the word no. But like,
so maybe frame it in a different way, which is crazy because obviously they're going to have to get used to the word no at some point in their life.
It's important.
Right.
It's either now with us or with the world. Exactly. Which one's going to be?
Exactly.
I think it's very important
to teach them those lessons,
to communicate with them. And it's something that we do. We talk with them like big people. Like, hey, we don't walk there because this and this and this can happen. It's not like, hey, we kind of use the big words with them and they get it. I think it's just finding the way that will make them listen better. And everyone is different. Sometimes, the tone of the voice works for some people, sometimes doesn't for the other. Like for me, I don't like people raising the voice to me. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you. You're scary. Yeah. And so Max is the same way.
Right? So that has the reverse effect for you. Okay.
Yeah. So that I learned with him. And with Dom, I have no idea. He is wild.
He
child.
Walked
he's
at what, 10 months
10 months. He's 1 year old. Yeah. But he thinks that he's 18 months old. It's incredible.
I mean, you're like, it's scary. Buckle up. Yes. Buckle up. He's trying to keep up with his siblings, don't you think?
And he goes for Max. Everything Max is like,
so cute.
Loves to push on that button.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. The girls are so wonderful. They help me with the boys so much. It's really,
I bet.
And
That's
I love
sweet
that
dynamic.
it is. And I love that. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. I love this phase that I'm in right now. And I'm trying to like decide, do I hire someone for a few hours but I love what we have. We're so connecting so well, and bringing someone else right now would change that a little bit. Is it helpful? Yes, but like this is so cool too. I really like. It's just a moment, and I know CJ and I talk about that all the time. Like, in 10 years, they'll be like, "You'll be driving."
I know.
That scares me a little bit.
A little bit. A lot of it. My next door neighbor, her son just started driving, and the girls think it's so cool. They're telling everybody at school that their neighbor is driving a car now, and it's a big deal, right? Which it is a big deal. But I'm like praying for the mom. Like, you good? Because I wouldn't be.
Want to talk?
Yeah.
Want to hang out? Want to tell me how you're feeling about that? Yeah, that's something that I think I will have to a lot of meditation days.
Exactly.
Because
prayer and all the things.
I don't know how that's going to be. Because they only get, their own opinions and their friends. It's very important to have the right friends around them. But also very important to teach them how to choose the right friends. And something that the girls and I talk about it all the time. Like,
oh, it's so true.
If there's like, you know, a kid who's not being appreciative of their time or being nice or kind or whatever, it's very important to say, hey, you're not being kind to me. You're not being nice. We're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna speak to me like that. We're gonna take a break. When you decide to be nice to me again, we can hang out. And they've been doing that really well. But this is after talking many times over like, hey mom, she was so mean, she hit me or whatever. But it's very important to teach them to choose the right friends, the right circle.
I mean, it's true. I mean, a bad influence can change a child's
everything
life.
that
Michael says that.
For.
That's like his biggest fear as a parent, which is interesting, but very true. Very true.
One day, or you know, at least for many years, they're going to go to high school. They don't think about us anymore. They think about their friends and what their friends are going to think, not what we're going to think.
I think a big part too of just navigating that, and they, you know, the whole like little people, little problems, big kids, big problems, right? Like my oldest is in kindergarten, as you know. It's like we are just scratching the surface here. I have a long way to go, I realize. But I do think that confidence building in your kids will only help them in the long run to make better decisions, to not feel peer pressure at all. Yes. You know, like that's a good, strong,
very important thing to have as a foundation.
Right?
It's so important. I think for me, it's extremely important for them to do martial arts because that will give them that confidence that I can take on anything.
Right. So the girls,
my mind is so strong. If you say that I'm a banana, I'm not going to believe you because I'm more than that. I can conquer anything. And that's the kind of mind that I grew up with. I did boxing for 6 years.
Wow.
It was one of my workouts during the modeling phase.
I love it. Cool.
I did jiu-jitsu for a little bit, boxing, capoeira. So all that kept me like nothing can take me down.
Like unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
I love it.
And I want my girls and my boys to have that CJ and I have.
Yeah, you both have that.
It's there going to be failures, mistakes, 100%. We are no one if we don't fail. Right. Because that's how we learn, right? Very basic thing.
Right.
It's not a secret what I'm saying here right now. But how you react into those mistakes and how you learn from it, that's what's going to make you a better person, a different person from that.
It's true.
Other person.
It's true. Your reaction with that.
Your reaction. So
your girls take jujitsu, right?
They take jiu-jitsu and they are green black belts.
Oh my God.
So I'm really proud to say that.
Amazing.
Yes. They can take on some. Yes.
I love that.
So this is a kind of funny story, but you know, sometimes the girls get into each other's face and V, you know, do something to Kay and Kay goes,
it's like, don't touch.
V did this to me. I'm like, what are you going to do? I'm not going to yell at her. Yeah. You go solve your own problem, Katarina.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Go back there and teach her. Do not ever touch you again. I'm not going to be at school when a kid's going to, you know, try to be
They're old enough to know that, right?
They're old enough to know at this point. You know, they're 6 and 8. And so I try to bring that to work their mind. And it's something I also constantly tell them. I'm not going to be there all the time. I'm here for you, but I'm not going to be at school solving your problems. So you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
You need to think, is this friend worth it for me right now? Is she being good to me? Is she worth my time? If she's not, find someone that it's appreciative of you and your time and your, you know, so
that's great advice.
I talked with them a lot about that, you know. And I love that. So yeah, the confidence is extremely important too.
I agree. So in life, how a large part of this podcast is to highlight people in the Valley that are doing really big things. And I'm just so grateful for the value and the love and the support that you and your family have brought to Fresno. And I think it's a very unique place to move when you're not from here.
Yes.
So I'm always curious. There's this term that my friends that have moved here call themselves transplants, right? Like they're not from here. They've I don't know where that came from. Maybe it's just like a thing.
I'm learning. Okay.
So regardless, it just means that essentially you don't have any sort of like
background.
Yeah, like you didn't grow up here. You may have friends here. You obviously have a connection here. You moved here for the dealerships, essentially, right?
For the business, yes.
Yeah.
And it was huge.
How was that? Yeah. How was that?
Wow. That's
the real answer.
That's the real deal.
Yeah.
I think CJ never had a doubt because he's very like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. So,
and this was post pro baseball days,
is
right?
Right as he's finishing, he's retiring baseball. And 2017, that's when we moved up here.
Okay.
And for me, it was hard, Ray, to be honest with you. Living in a big towns, New York City, we moved to LA,
right? And
then we lived in Orange County for a little bit, for a few years. So moving to Fresno was different because no friends, none of his family were there, and it was something completely different from what we were doing before. Like, we were doing baseball, we were in the spotlight all the time, he was doing interviews everywhere, traveling, and then we moved here. It's like starting from scratch. From scratch.
Yeah, right. Like,
so you have to have big balls to do something like that, and he did.
Yeah.
And I struggled a little bit, you know. Yeah. And I think for me it took about a year to be like, well, I'm not moving out.
Right. Like, so you're like, I guess we're going to be here.
I guess we're going to be here. Yeah. This is it. This is the business. It's not like I can just, hey, you know, doing this for a little bit. It's not for a little bit. Yeah. This is it. And the moment that, like we were saying before, the moment that I embraced that we were here to stay and I accept, that's when I started being happy again. And I started seeing, you know, delight and making friends and getting out of the house. But it was hard because I had V as 1-year-old. I was pregnant.
Right.
So it's just like all those things. With time from baseball, moving, little kids. CJ was so, you know, like diving into something completely new, which is scary. Right. And I think for us, there's just like a lot of pressure on both of us.
With a newborn and you're not sleeping and you're pregnant, all the hormones, all the feels. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to motherhood, it's extremely important to have that support system. I think there was a way that we could explain this better. Moms need support, not just for the kids, but like, hey,
they need the support. Yeah,
we need the support.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that, so I had to figure it out on my own.
Well, I think too, on top of that, you know that term, it takes a village. Have you heard that? Right. I mean, it does, right?
It really does.
Even just raising one child, it does.
100%.
And to your point, supporting you, supporting your marriage, supporting your husband, supporting all of the goals,
all
that you
the
both
changes
have,
that you're
all
going
the
through.
The sleepless nights, the feeding, all the things. But I have found too that it's a very different dynamic meeting adult friends. Meeting mom friends, right? When you're young, to your point, you have less fear, right? You're just like, whatever, I'm going to insert myself here and, you know, meet people, all the things. But when you're with a partner and now you have a family, it's like,
you meet different people, and you only usually, well, basically you mostly starting to meet those people when they go to school.
I was going to say school, when the kids are in school, or if you have a job or something outside the home where you can meet people at work, right?
Exactly.
But other than that, it's like, where do you meet people?
Where do you
at
go?
A park? I don't know.
Hey, a little sign.
I'm looking for friends.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah. So how did you meet people? Because you had a baby. It's not like you had, he wasn't in school yet, even preschool.
No. So that's what I'm saying. It took me a year to be like, well, this is a place there I meet really great people. And I think that was another big thing for me when I started meeting my friends in Fresno. And I love the people in Fresno.
Yeah.
Humble, hard workers, great moms, focus on families, the perfect town to raise kids. And I think like I could never do this in New York City or in LA. It'd be a little bit harder too, just because it's just so much going on. And I love this vibe that Fresno gives you when it comes to kids. There's so much to do. And even my girls love here too. They're like, I mean,
So
they don't know
sweet.
anything else also, but we love our people. We love that, we can just go to CJ's work it's like 5-minute drive. So
Right. That's sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm biased. I grew up here.
Yeah.
But I will say, having lived in LA and come back, and I have friends that still live in LA with kids, it's just different. It's not good, not bad. It's just different.
It's
and
just
I
very
think the
different.
things that you take for granted, like owning a home, having a backyard,
having the space to raise
having
the
great
kids,
public schools, if that's the choice you
100%.
take.
Yes.
Being able to go somewhere across town in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes.
Not an hour and 20 minutes.
Plus,
it's like those things
here.
just really just make you feel really grateful in having a family.
This Fresno is a growing town. It's growing tremendously. It's absolutely taking off, and I only see positive things for Fresno.
Same.
Moving the dealerships to Clover is going to be major for us. And I'm really happy to be here. I don't, we talk about this all the time. I think when we moved to Fresno, I was like, hey, I only have a few years for this. And then I was like, babe, I love it. Because he was like, hey, what do we want to do? Like, are we okay? I was like, yes, I'm not going anywhere. And I never thought I would say this.
Right?
But I do.
I'm sure he didn't either, CJ. It's like you both probably didn't expect that. He grew in
us, We met wonderful people. We made great friends.
Love it.
And we're really happy here.
I love
we
the
only,
kids'
like I
schools
said,
and
we
all
only
things.
see a bright future for Fresno. So we don't see any other place to move to or go to.
I just
anytime soon.
Hearing that.
Yeah.
Because it was funny. I was telling somebody how much I feel the same way, obviously, and want what's best for Fresno and really kind of putting Fresno on the map even more so than we already are.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, please don't. Please keep it the best kept secret because we don't want to get too big. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like there's more people here now, though?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
One of the fastest
Especially
growing
after
cities in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a fact.
Gosh, I'm annoyed right now. Like, don't. This is our thing.
I know, right?
I see that happening, though. It's a great place to raise kids. Great public schools.
You can go
great
anywhere
restaurants.
for the weekend.
Go anywhere for the weekends, like, in
North,
the center.
south, east, west.
Anywhere.
Take your pick. I know.
Yosemite, it's right there.
People with great values.
Really great values, all the farms. It's really fun for me to kind of get back to the farmland in a way. Right? It's like I grew up in a farm. Now I'm living right
wow.
there. Right?
Full circle moment. I just got
it's
the chills. Wow. That's true.
Around. So it's really interesting to me, like how I see that now. It's like, I'm right back there. Where I started.
Yeah.
We do think to do something farming.
Yeah. So let's talk about that kind of in wrapping up. I feel like we've talked about different seasons of life, right? And you never know what the future holds. You really don't. But do you have an idea of kind of maybe things you and CJ have talked about or you've talked about with your kids about of like what this next kind of season of life looks like for you? Or
we do. We have
family?
A few plans. We discussed a few ideas. We have we want to roast our own coffee. I want to have a coffee brand. Something very, very cool coming up the next few months.
Here for all things
so excited
coffee,
for that.
obviously.
All things coffee. I live for coffee. Be my coffee.
Yes. Very exciting.
And farming, it's something that we talk about on and off. It'd be nice to have a orange farm, peach. We don't know exactly which way we're going to go, but something that it's always in our minds. So we talk about.
I think everybody in the valley has some sort of a connection to ag.
Yeah.
Whether it's them directly or a distant family member or a good friend or what have you. But that's also obviously the beauty of where we are.
100%. It's right there.
Literally. We're growing the world's
and it'd be really,
produce.
Really wild in my life to kind of go back to that. And having that background is just be kind of easy for me to jump back into that, and teach the kids and have the kids kind of take that on their lives. So coffee, Obviously, we moving the dealerships to Clovis.
Yeah, that's a huge undertaking. So exciting.
So wild.
Giving
so
more
exciting.
space for all of the brands and potentially more, right? Like, that's great.
Yeah, we're going to have restaurants there around us. So that's really a big thing. And I think for me, to be honest with you, reinventing myself after motherhood, obviously. The kid, I have a 1-year-old, so there's only right.
It's only so much reinventing.
I could do right now.
The fact that you're here right now is amazing.
yes.
You know,
but I think even finding what's next for me, it's it's what's next. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love that.
So much. I worked for so many years, so hard, and then I embraced motherhood and family, and and now it's kind of seeing what's next. Like just finding out,
seeing what that next chapter looks like. And to your point, kind of being okay to sit in that, and not feel like you always have to be eager.
I was like that for me for many years. I was like, what's next? I got a hair campaign. I want a beauty campaign. I want a shoe campaign. I was always reaching for what's next, right? And right now I'm settled, and I'm leaving this moment with the kids, with little kids. And I think it's okay. Thankfully, I can do that, right? But I do have exciting things in my mind. I discuss book ideas with my girls, with CJ. It's something we both want to do.
I love that. That's fun.
The roasting coffee, and I don't know. Who knows tomorrow?
You're creative.
I think something for us will never just like sit and enjoy life. At least not for now. We are very creative and motivated people. It's just a matter of like the right timing for things,
Right. And I see that in both of you, and I see you teaching that to your kids, which is really fun to kind of see, like V being more artistic and Kay being into the fashion and Max being into the cars, Dom, the world is his oyster. He'll be into all the things, right?
We talk about Dom is like the athlete of the family.
Oh,
he
there you go.
The soccer ball.
I mean, he walked at 10 months. That's impressive.
He's walking with the baseball. He's ready to go. He is incredible.
Hey, there you go.
He is incredible.
Fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's.
I love it. I love your honesty. Thank you for being
here. Having me, Ray.
Thank you for your honesty, and you're so inspiring. This was so fun. See,
it's like being in the spotlight again.
Yeah, you're a natural.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Coffee cheers, friends.
Cheers.
Appreciate your time.
Coffee life.